Two major exchanges just shut down in the same week, and your gut is screaming panic. Mine did the opposite. Because I've seen this exact movie before, back in 2022, right before everything flipped. So sit with an uncomfortable question for 1 second. What if these collapses are exactly what XRP needed? I know how that sounds. Crazy. But stay with me, because here's what almost nobody is telling you. While you've been staring at that flat, frustrating chart, XRP stuck at $1.10, sideways, going nowhere, driving you out of your mind. Something $2.6 billion big quietly happened underneath it. And it completely changes how you're supposed to read this so-called boring chart. So here's my promise for the next 14 minutes. You're gonna see all three: the shakeout, the sideways pain, and the 2.6 billion nobody's watching. And by the end, you'll understand why the scariest headline of the week might be the most bullish thing to happen to XRP holders all year, and why the boring part always shows up right before the good part. Deal? Stop scrolling. Let's go. Real quick, straight from the heart. I'm not a financial advisor, and nothing here is a promise. Anything I say about price is my opinion, never a guarantee. I make these videos because I believe in this space, and I believe in you. So do your own research, protect your family first, and let's stay patient together. Cool? Let's get into it. Let's start with what actually happened, because the facts matter a whole lot more than the fear. On July 23rd, BitMEX, the platform that literally invented the perpetual swap, 11 years in the game, announced it's shutting down. Done. Closing for good on September 23rd. Then, just 3 days later, on July 26th, BitMart followed it right out the door. 9 years in business, now winding down too. New registrations stopped, deposits frozen, all trading ending August 26th, and the whole platform going dark by January. And BitMart's own token, BMX, it didn't dip. It didn't correct. It collapsed. And BitMart's own token, BMX, it didn't dip. It didn't correct. It collapsed. Somewhere between 58 and 70% in a single 24-hour window. Now here's the thing. When you read a headline like, 2 exchanges shut down in 1 week, your brain fills in the scary version automatically. Hack, fraud, another FTX. So I did something crazy. I actually read both announcements, word for word. Nope, neither one mentions a hack. Neither one mentions insolvency. Neither one got shut down by regulators. The wording was almost painfully boring. Operating conditions, market environment, future strategic direction. Let me translate that out of corporate speak for you. These mid-tier exchanges just stopped making enough money to justify keeping the lights on. And that, believe it or not, is a completely different story than the one your fear is telling you. This isn't the system breaking. This is the system cleaning itself out. Here's where folks go wrong. They see any exchange close and assume the entire industry is dying. Opposite, actually. The exact lane Ripple and the XRP Ledger have been grinding in this whole time, while everyone laughed and called them boring. Weak hands fold, strong foundations stay. Write that down, because it is the entire theme of today's video. But hold on. Exchanges folding is actually good. That's a nice sounding idea, but I don't want you to just take my word for it. So let me show you why this exact pattern, this precise sequence of events, has shown up at the bottom before, and what happened to the people who held on afterward. Let me back up to 2022 for a second, because history doesn't repeat itself, but it sure does rhyme. Think about how that whole cycle ended. FTX imploded, then Celsius, then Voyager, one domino after another after another. It genuinely felt like the entire thing was over. People were screaming that crypto was dead, and this time, they meant it. And you know exactly what came after all that carnage? The bottom, the reset, the quiet, grinding, boring stretch that nobody wanted to sit through, the one that eventually turned into the next run. And the people who panicked and sold at the darkest possible moment, they became the buyers who came crawling back later at way higher prices, kicking themselves for not holding. Now, I want to be careful here, because this is exactly where a lot of channels are going to lie to you. I am not going to stand here and promise you this is the bottom. Nobody can promise that. Anybody who looks into a camera and guarantees you the exact bottom is guessing and dressing it up as certainty. So let me be straight. This is my read, my opinion, not a guarantee. But the pattern deserves respect. Historically, capitulation, exchanges dying, tokens crashing, the whole crowd giving up at once, tends to show up near the end of the pain, not the beginning. And here's the part that gave me a little chill. This time around, it's not just exchanges folding. It's the dead weight too. We just watched a wave of failed crypto projects officially shut their doors. Dozens of them, publicly declaring the end of operations. And honestly, good. Let me keep it 100 with you. A massive chunk of the thousands of tokens floating around out there were never, ever going to make it. When real regulation finally lands, a lot of them go straight to zero. That is not a tragedy. That is a cleanse. That is the trash finally getting taken out. So think hard about what that means for XRP. Every dead project, every folded exchange, every rug pull that finally gets exposed for what it was. That's capital and attention getting freed up and set loose. Let me bring the whole thing home. Here's where we actually stand. 2 exchanges just folded, not from fraud, but because the weak players are getting filtered out. The networks that actually built something real. The ones with genuine utility, real institutional traction, and the staying power to still be here on the other side. That's the reframe, and I need you to feel it. This isn't the graveyard. This is the chapter right before the survivors get rewarded. But here's a question almost nobody in your feed is asking right now. If everything is so scary, so red, so hopeless, then why did $2.6 billion quietly pour into XRP's ecosystem in the middle of all of it? That doesn't add up, does it? Not unless you understand what's really happening underneath the surface. Let me show you. Okay, this is the number that flips the entire story on its head, so lock in for this part. While the price just sat there, flat, boring, testing your patience, the XRP Ledger quietly pulled in $2.6 billion in brand new real-world assets over the past 6 months. 2.6 billion with a B. And here's the part that should stop you cold. That makes the XRP Ledger the second fastest growing network on the entire planet for this kind of tokenized asset inflow. Second, only behind BNB Chain, ahead of Solana, ahead of Avalanche, and ahead of Ethereum's net additions over that same stretch. The very same Ethereum that the mainstream financial media keeps crowning as the king of tokenization. And here's the part that should stop you cold. That makes the XRP Ledger the second fastest growing network on the entire planet for this kind of tokenized asset inflow. Second, only behind BNB Chain, ahead of Solana, ahead of Avalanche, and ahead of Ethereum's net additions over that same stretch. The very same Ethereum that the mainstream financial media keeps crowning as the king of tokenization. Did you know the XRP Ledger was outpacing Ethereum on new real-world asset inflows before you clicked on this video? Type yes or no in the comments right now. I'm reading them today, personally, and I genuinely want to see how many of you knew this was quietly happening while the price sat dead still. Yes or no? Go do it, then come right back. All right, now I have to be completely honest with you, because that's the deal we made at the very start of this video. And this is the exact spot where the hype channels are going to try to mislead you. They'll grab that 2.6 billion number and scream, XRP to $10, it's guaranteed, financial freedom incoming. Stop. That is not how this works. And I refuse to lie to you to farm your excitement. Here's the truth. Real-world asset growth on the ledger does not automatically pump the price of the XRP token. It just doesn't. A big share of that value is a tokenized energy product and Ripple's RLUSD stablecoin, not the XRP token itself suddenly getting bought up. So then why does it matter at all? Why am I making a whole section about it? Because you are not watching a pump. You are watching a foundation get poured. Every single one of those assets lives on the XRP Ledger. Every transaction that moves them runs through the network that XRP secures and fuels. So when serious, regulated institutions choose this ledger as the place to park real tokenized value, while a bunch of other chains sit there empty, that is them voting with billions of actual dollars on which infrastructure is going to survive the cleanse we just talked about. And remember the start of this video? Weak players fold, strong foundations stay. This 2.6 billion is what a strong foundation looks like being built in real time, while the crowd stares at one flat candle and declares the whole thing dead. That's the gap I keep coming back to. Enormous building happening underneath. Quiet, sleepy price sitting on top. And in my opinion, not a promise, just my honest read, gaps that wide don't tend to stay open forever. So let's talk about the elephant in the room, that sideways chart, the thing quietly driving you up the wall every single day. Then people glance at that red candle, and their whole conclusion becomes, XRP sucks, XRP is dead. But go look at Bitcoin's chart on that exact same day. Guess what? It's red too. It was never about XRP. It was about the tide pulling every boat down at once. Now here's where folks go wrong. They think sideways means broken. Nope, opposite actually. Sideways, after the year we've had, is XRP holding its ground while the whole market chops around it. Holding support while weaker coins bleed out and disappear. That's not failure. That's a coin quietly refusing to die. But let me keep it 100 with you. Nobody, and I mean nobody, no analyst, no AI model, no guy with a laser eyes profile picture can actually tell you where XRP closes this year. Anyone who says otherwise is selling you a feeling, not a fact. So treat those numbers as opinions and entertainment, never as a plan for your money. And let me address the other thing blowing up your feed, all those AI price predictions. You've seen them. One model says $1.30, another says $3.75. One lonely model breaks away and screams $3.50 to $4 by year end. And look, it's fun to dream on those. So let me show you why this exact pattern, this precise sequence of events, has shown up at the bottom before. Here's what actually matters, and it's the thing I want you to hold on to. The two things that break XRP out of this sideways box are the same two things being built right now underneath the price: decoupling from Bitcoin and real utility driving genuine demand. The RWA growth, the institutional infrastructure, the ETF demand quietly building in the background. That's the machinery that eventually lets XRP trade on its own story instead of Bitcoin's mood. We're not fully there yet. I won't pretend we are. But every piece being laid down right now is a piece that gets us closer. So before I bring this all home, here's my challenge to you. Everything I just showed you, the shakeout, the 2.6 billion, the reason for the sideways grind, it's all public, all verifiable, all sitting right out in the open. So ask yourself, if it's this obvious, why does almost nobody seem to see it? Stick with me for 60 more seconds, because this last part is the piece that decides whether you look back on today and smile or wish you'd paid attention. Dozens of dead projects are officially shutting their doors, cleansing the space of the garbage that's been dragging it down for years. And in the middle of all that noise and fear, $2.6 billion in real-world assets quietly flowed onto the XRP Ledger, putting it second in the entire world for new inflows. The trash is being taken out. The foundation is being poured. Both things are happening at the exact same time, and most people only see the first one. Now, I know some of you are looking at your portfolio right this second, and XRP is sitting at $1.10, and you are tired. Tired of sideways, tired of waiting, tired of watching everyone else's coin pump for a day while yours just sits there. I get it. I really, truly do. So let me reframe it for you one last time, because it's the honest truth. Price is the last thing to move, not the first. Everything I showed you today, the cleanse, the institutions, the billions in tokenized value, that's the concrete going into the ground. And nobody pours a foundation this size for a building they don't intend to finish. So let me reframe it for you one last time, because it's the honest truth. Price is the last thing to move, not the first. Everything I showed you today, the cleanse, the institutions, the billions in tokenized value, that's the concrete going into the ground. And nobody pours a foundation this size for a building they don't intend to finish. We're early. I know it does not feel like it after the year we've all sat through. But look at the gap. Look at what's genuinely being built versus where the price actually sits. That gap isn't failure. That gap is opportunity that just hasn't been priced in yet. This is the first chapter, not the last. We're early. I know it does not feel like it after the year we've all sat through. But look at the gap. Look at what's genuinely being built versus where the price actually sits. That gap isn't failure. That gap is opportunity that just hasn't been priced in yet. This is the first chapter, not the last. The pain doesn't last forever. It never does. And the foundation is being poured right now, whether that flat little chart shows it today or not. So here's what I need from you. If this connected some dots, if you finally see why 2 collapsing exchanges might be the most bullish headline of the year, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn your notifications on, because I track this stuff every single day so you don't have to. So here's what I need from you. If this connected some dots, if you finally see why 2 collapsing exchanges might be the most bullish headline of the year, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn your notifications on, because I track this stuff every single day so you don't have to. Drop your yes or no in the comments if you haven't yet, and tell me straight up, do you think this is the shakeout before the breakout, or are you still not convinced? I read every single comment. Stay early, stay patient, stay optimistic, protect your family, do your own research, and never let anyone rush your decisions, and that includes me. Stay early, stay patient, stay optimistic, protect your family, do your own research, and never let anyone rush your decisions, and that includes me. This has been Crypto with BHW. We're early, the foundation is being poured, and I'll see you in the very next one.